For the sake of this video, I have my seat at the same height as my couch, okay? So this is about how high I would be sitting. And the reason why I did that is because I want you to see just how tall these speakers are. These speakers really put the sound at ear level, and especially when you're sitting further back, because remember the tweeter is going to send the sound out, you know, at an angle. So it's going to start from the rear and it's going to kind of send it out this way. So the further back you are, you know, the better it's going to sound. But the point is that these are up nice and high already at ear level. So even if you are sitting up close, and I would hate to be sitting this close because you know it would just sound crazy. But you know, if you are sitting, you know, a little bit closer, maybe, you know, 6 feet away or something, then you know, at least you have an idea of you know, the height. Now on top of the speaker, I do have the add-on, and this is the, I'm going to show you the box. This is the A90, the Dolby Atmos add-on, which simply, that's it. And it connects like that. So this is a Dolby Atmos speaker. Okay, and I'm going to come right back. So I just pulled out my flashlight so you could kind of see. You can see the tweeter in there, I think. And the tweeter appears to be surrounded by like a horn, like a plastic horn all around it. I don't know if that's showing it well, but you can kind of see it. And then back here is your mid-range. Trying to keep my hand out of it, but yeah, there's your mid-range. So, yep, there it is. So that's what the speaker looks like on the inside. This is what it looks like close up in the rear. So normally there's a metal plate on top, but the metal plate is no longer there. I put it away, but the speaker would stop at this height. And I know I haven't said the name. This is the definitive BP 9060. I need some water. I'm excited about this one. I'm excited because this speaker, the BP 9060, normally sells for about $1,200, and I got it on a really, really fantastic deal. And on top of it, what is this again? The A90 they call it? I think, yeah, the A90. The pair sells for $400, or I believe it sells normally for $500, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I forgot, but I think I got them on some kind of sale. I don't remember. Anyway, back to the speaker. I'm going to read the specs of the BP 9060. Okay, so it weighs 50 pounds, so it's 50 pounds, and it's a heavy speaker, there's no doubt about it. The front drivers, there's two 4.5s, so just like, so there's one right here, you probably can't even see it, but this is the 4.5 mid-range, mid-bass driver. Here's the tweeter, okay, the tweeter's right there, it's probably not lighting anything up, and then here's another 4.5, so there's one here. Now on the rear, there's the same tweeter in mid-range that's up here. It's up at the same height in the rear, okay? The rear also has two separate connections, okay? One, you can see there, one connection, the connection on top, make sure it's tight. The connection on top is for this, okay? Otherwise you don't use it, okay? The connection on the bottom to your receiver is for the rest of the speaker, and here's the plug for your sub. Okay, so where to start with this speaker? I own an older pair of BP, I don't even remember what they call them, but a much older pair of definitives, which are from, I don't even know how many years ago, 10 years or more. It's in my other videos, you'll see them. It's the one that has the 8-inch powered sub. So this one has a 10-inch sub right here with 300 watt amp, plus a passive radiator, which is 10 inches here, and another one, which is right here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers essentially, plus the 2 passive, 7, 8, so you have 8 drivers. So to me, this is a tower speaker. I hate when I see manufacturers make like something like this where there's a 5 1/4 inch and the tweeter, and they put that into a tower cabinet or casing. You know, to me that's just ridiculous. It's a waste of money for the customer, because it's really all it's doing is like propping it up, maybe a little bit better bass. But if you're going to buy tower speakers, make sure it has a lot of drivers in it. You know, that's always my opinion. So with that said, these speakers without the Dolby Atmos add-on makes a great sound. The sound is really amazing. I do love them. It makes like a wall of sound, okay? So especially if you're not going to do some type of height channels where you're going to mount them up high. If you're not going to do that, then you really want a pair of these for your front left and front right. They make such a fantastic sound stage. It's just like a wall of sound comes out from these things. They're absolutely fantastic for movies. The bass that comes off these things is really good. I have the volume. I have the volume on the knob, the volume knob for the powered sub. It's up about 70%. So at 70%, I feel like it has a very nice balance between the tweeter, the mid-range, and the bass. Movies really pound with this thing. Now, you know, probably the biggest question is, should you purchase a sub? My answer is yes, absolutely. You still need a sub. A sub like this. A sub like this is taking the bass and it's pushing it towards you, okay? This, the bass is going like inward. So it's very full. It really adds a lot of depth, but it doesn't quite have that oomph that hits you, that punch, whereas something like this has that punch. These speakers also make the placement of your .1 much more forgiving, or should I say easier to place, okay? If you had regular speakers where your receiver's powering them, or you had satellites, if your sub isn't really quite in the center, if it's off into a corner, then you know the bass is going to be heavy somewhere over there. Okay, so you would really want in that situation like 2 subs, maybe a sub in the rear as well. But having these, the placement of the main sub, it's just not, it's not as critical. That's what I'm trying to say. So these these speakers are fantastic with movies. Again, I'm talking about it without the attachment on top, without this. With music, they shine. I mean, I love them with music. I think they're fantastic. The mid-range is nice and clear. The upper end, the treble that comes from the tweeter, it's very nice. It's not harsh. But it is very clear. So the mid-range is very clear. The voices sound nice. Snare drums sound great. Acoustic music, especially if you're listening to something where it's really just like acoustic guitar, or maybe it's like a bass solo or something like that. All that stuff sounds really nice. There is a Alice in Chains, I think it was MTV Unplugged. I listen to it kind of often. That to me, just, I mean, it sounds fantastic on this. There's Johnny Cash, his last CD before he passed away, which has the 9 Inch Nails cover song "Hurt" on it. That became really popular. I mean, it sounds great. Like his voice, the guitar sounds fantastic. And if you go all the way up the line into heavier stuff, if you enjoy bands like Slipknot, you know, Slipknot just sounds fantastic coming out of these speakers. These speakers sound great. Okay. So they sound great for music, and over the years, I've always felt like if a speaker can handle music very well and sound good with music, then it's going to sound awesome with movies. Because movies are just so much. It's not as harsh on a speaker. A movie. Movies make speakers that aren't so good sound better than what they are. But music, I find that music is much harder for speakers to sound good with. And I hope that made sense, because maybe it didn't, because I feel like I'm babbling because I'm excited about these. Okay, next. Let's talk about the add-on, the Atmos add-on. What does it sound like? What does it do for the speaker? I want to explain this right, I really do. I really want to explain the impact that it has, because this part of the speaker, okay, adds to that soundstage wall. So it creates more of a wall of a soundstage when you're watching movies, and also when you're listening to music. Everything just sounds larger coming out of these things. These, and I'm trying to remember the specifications off the top of my head, I believe that they said you could use these, they're recommended for ceilings as high as 12 feet, but I believe it can go as high as 14 feet. My ceiling height is about 9 feet. This stops at, I think it's 4.5 or something like that. Like this is about, because I'm 6'1", so you can see where this is on me. It's right at my lower chest or so. Again, I don't want to say the wrong thing about these speakers. I don't want to misstate. I don't necessarily hear it coming off the ceiling. When I use the test tone on the receiver to set the volume level, and I go from speaker to speaker, it does sound sometimes like it is coming off the ceiling, but it more so sounds like it's coming from the front in a strange, they have an out of phase sound about them. They don't sound like a speaker that's in phase to me. It has like a sound compared to like a, okay, which I know that that's not a very good impersonation, but when you're listening to the test tone, this sounds like the second one versus the first one that I did. The first one that I did was my like impersonation of this. It has a very fanned out, almost out of phase sound. And when you listen to things that are out of phase using a test CD, it almost sounds like, you know, it's hard to pinpoint where it's coming from. So I feel like these really give that type of sound. How do they compare to actual mounting front heights? Very different. It's very different, but I will say these do add to it. They add a lot to the sound stage. It's almost like it's like the speaker became taller, okay? So if I'm listening to just the speaker without this add-on, I'm listening to, right? Then this add-on makes the speaker feel like it's like this tall. It just, and I'm out of the camera, yeah I am. So it makes it feel like it's like 3 feet taller or something like that. But sometimes it does sound like it's coming from somewhere up in the ceiling. But I think that the best explanation that I can give to it is, it sounds like this. I know I'm waving my arms and I'm not having a crazy moment, but it sounds like this, like the sound is just fanned out. So it sounds wide, it sounds fanned out. I put a ton of movies through the test with these things. With these, I'm talking about with these, and of course with this, but you know, with these in particular, because again, you know, I own the old pair of these as well, so you know, they're not very different. This pair is maybe a little more clear than the older pair, you know, a little bit, and I think that the tweeter is better. The older pair always sounded like there's a bit of like a lag on the tweeter or something like that, like a tiny bit, like it was like falling behind, but it doesn't with this. But with this add-on, I think it's a great choice if you don't want to actually put up height speakers. Okay, I think that this is, you know, this is definitely a great choice. If you put these in the rear behind you, I think that that would be great as well, if these would be used in the rear, or somehow these would be used on the sides, and using these as a side height Atmos speaker, so it would be, you know, on the sides, or if it was in the rear. I think pretty much any place, you know, that you put them, you know, I think that it would be a pretty good choice. Again, if you don't want to actually hang speakers, that's really what these are good for. You know, hanging speakers, you know, I mean, I'm lazy. In my other room, I mounted them, and the wires are just hanging down the wall because I'm never going to run them behind the wall. I'm not going to get into it. So, and you know, there's a lot of people that are the same way, that just, you know, we're going to mount it, but we're just, you know, we're not going to try to run the wire behind the wall and go through that headache. You know, it doesn't always pay. For me, it doesn't pay. So in this room, I like these. You know, I like the sound of it. I love the sound of the 9060. I love the sound of it, you know, without this, and it you know, it definitely sounds better with this. I do want to point out that this A90 attachment, I'm going to make a separate video, but I had to set it louder than the test tone on my receiver. So what I'm saying is that, like, on my receiver, I think it was going to be set to like a plus, I think it was going to be set to like a +4. I have it set to a +7 or something like that now. So it needed to be louder than what it sounded like it should be on the test tone. And that's because in my other room, where I actually have the front heights mounted, right, watching similar movies, the lower sounds, like the low sounds that would come out of those speakers are also coming out of these speakers, but because of the angle, those sounds were getting lost. So, you know, again, in my opinion, this speaker, these need to be set louder than you think, so you don't lose those sounds, okay? Because these seem to put out the same sounds as what the front heights would, okay? And these are putting out sounds that are different than rear heights, okay? Because I have rear heights in this room as well, but they're on top of a bookshelf, so they're up about 6 feet high. Those are my rear heights, and I have my surround speakers on the lower shelves of the bookshelf. So I think that that's about it for this video. I think that I've rambled enough. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, if you have any comments. If you own these, if you own these speakers, or if you own a similar one with this attachment, I'd love to hear how it works out for you. I'd love to hear about your settings. Please subscribe to the channel as well. And thank you for watching. Actually, I do have one more comment. I ran this speaker with both 120 watt Onkyo RZ840 and the older RZ630, which is 90 watts a channel. And it sounded great with both, and to be honest, I think I like how it sounded better with that, because I just think this receiver is a little bit clearer, but that's a whole other video in itself.